This next question will start with Sydney. How do you anticipate class size being affected by the financial constraints of the district?
I'll throw a shocker out there. It's going to turn out to be one-on-one. And I think part of the financial constraints are going to drive us to get a technology in place that says I've got one-on-one interaction with the teacher. Now, that's going to be down the road a little bit, but I think that's part of the shift that we have to think about is, what does a master teacher do? Can a master teacher compel 100 people to be spellbound with regard to the subject area that they're talking about? And can the other teachers be off in small study groups and things, much at a university level, where they're helping those students who have the issues and the problems? And I think some of that territory is getting looked at with the AVID program and some other things. And as a little side note, I was a bit amused to the interdisciplinary reference with regard to some of that. I wrote my master's thesis on interdisciplinary education in 1975. And I'm glad to see that that type of thing is starting to come forward today. But I think class sizes for some basic things are going to go up, and for the one-on-one stuff are going to go down. And I'd certainly like to see it to be a little bit smaller at the elementary level, where you get a better start. And then that classroom control kind of thing, which I think kind of moves itself through the system as you get into the middle school, won't be so much of an issue. Get the kids started out in a controlled environment, and it'll carry itself through.
I think it really depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about class sizes in our current educational model, then we have a problem. We have a problem because our class sizes are slowly rising, and both at the elementary levels and through high school. I think if we are looking to pile numerous children into a high school classroom with computers and have a teacher facilitate that without changing the model that we currently use, that's just looking for efficiencies. It's not looking for what's effective educational delivery. Again, and I sound like starting to sound like a broken record. I really think we have to look at what is the model of delivering education and how do we change that. If we're going to stay stuck in the 20th century model, it's inevitable that our class sizes are going to rise as our resources become more constrained. Do we want to do that? No. Have we had to do that? Yes. And is that an area, where we can experience reductions and savings? Sure. But is that the delivery model we want? And I would put out there that it would be more important to have the conversation, how do we change our delivery of education, K through 12, in order to maximize our resources where we need them face-to-face in small groups or class sizes versus project-based learning, one-on-one, online learning. I mean, there are all sorts of delivery vehicles that can be combined to meet the educational needs going forward. I think it's going to be real hard for all of us, especially as parents who are accustomed to a certain kind of classroom setup, a certain kind of organization, a one teacher from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. in front of 22, 24, you name it, 25 students. If that's our model, then we're going to have trouble because that model is not financially sustainable over the long haul going forward. If we're willing to sit down and talk about how do we rethink delivery, then when we have group instruction, we can have it in manageable sizes. When we have AP classes where the content is prescribed by the advanced placement organization, we can get through that content. You can't load on 50 students in a classroom of AP students on one teacher. That is just not a manageable workload, either for the students who need the interaction in the classroom or for the teacher. So it really becomes, again, the conversation of if we're going to go ahead and keep doing what we've been doing, then that's a different conversation than how do we accommodate with our resources how we deliver education based on the age group, the content area, and so forth. It's a different
the delivery system that Suzette is talking about is right. We're going to need to make changes in the delivery system. Class size, however, I think will be a product of declining enrollment. As students decline, the number of teachers are going to decline. That's the nature of the beast. And so class sizes probably are not going to be significantly different. How we deliver to those class is going to change a little bit. The question then becomes, what is the optimum class size? I have no clue. I don't think anybody does. Optimum for what? And for what area? There's a lot of snowsuits to put on and take off if you start going to 40 or so kids in a kindergarten. What is, Sidney made the comment about master teachers, and I think he's right. I think master teachers certainly influence student education. Indeed, it's master teachers, it's outstanding teachers, it's caring teachers who take on larger workloads, if you will, but who connect with those students and who therefore encourage them to learn. 25 students in a classroom at the high school is about 2 minutes per student. Not very much. So 2 minutes of individualized attention, now we know that's not possible in any case. You mentioned, Suzette mentioned the workload for a teacher. There are different workloads certainly for different teachers in different arenas, but they all have a number of things that they have to do. Being an English teacher, I'm aware that correcting essays takes a while. But I'm not aware exactly what math teachers do because I have no idea. I have no idea what science teachers do, but I'm guessing they're all working pretty hard. So, I think the class size will be a product of declining enrollment. And I suspect it won't change dramatically, but I hope the delivery systems to those classes change dramatically.
Okay, we've got 2 more questions, so there'll be 2 more rounds, and then you'll have your closing statement. So we're nearing the end. Thank you very much. Do you think this is for Suzette? Do you think the passage of the current budget repair bill being considered in Madison will make the school board's job easier or more difficult in effecting positive change?
It's going to change our job. Positive or negative remains to be seen because we don't know all the ramifications of what's in the budget repair bill and the interpretation of all that as it gets to us. It's a moving target. The revenue reduction that we're hearing out of the governor's budget proposal keeps changing. And we're not quite sure yet what all the tools that are being talked about will be. But we have a sense of what some of them will be. And some of those will make our job different in that we will be able to begin to leverage and control some of our costs that we haven't been able to do before. Some of the tools will make our job really tough because we're going to have to insist on employee contributions in areas if we don't want to cut programs and we don't want to cut jobs. That's tough to have such a paradigm shift in how we administer compensation benefit costs. Is it essential? Is it necessary? Absolutely. If we don't want to cut programs for kids and we don't want to eliminate jobs. But it is a shift in how we think about who should be paying for what. How do we recruit and retain and evaluate teachers and compensate them for that? The door will be opened by the budget repair bill to utilize some tools that we have not had the capacity to use in a long, long, long time. I, for one, think it's a terrific opportunity to look at how can we use those tools in a positive way to leverage what we need and use the resources that we currently have. It's redistributing them in ways that maybe aren't into compensation, but are into program, or are into recruiting and pay for performance versus years being paid for being in a seat. Those are all conversations that have to take place. Those are all decisions that will have to be made. But the door is being open to have those conversations. We haven't been able to have those conversations for a long time. A conversation, for example, of can we have a pension contribution going forward for all new hires? It's an idea that's been thrown out on the bargaining table many, many times and has been resisted many, many times. It's a conversation we can now have. So we're going to have some opportunities. How they're all going to play out, I don't know. I think they're going to be very difficult. I don't think any of them are going to make our jobs any easier. I think it's uncharted water. I think it's a lot of opportunity to rethink how we structure pay, compensation, pension, resources for the classroom, resources for programs for kids. It's an opportunity, and it's a window that I'm excited to have the opportunity to be a part of that conversation. I think it's exciting times in education. We need to grasp the opportunity and move forward with it rather than look backwards, and there'll be some mourning and some grieving about the systems and the structures we're going to leave behind. That's okay. We can mourn and grieve that and be sad about that. But then we have to move forward. And we have to take the opportunity that we have to make the changes that we know are necessary in order to sustain education in this state. Some people are going to come with us, and some people aren't. And that's okay too. And that's what's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. None of it is going to be easy. But it's a conversation that needs to be had, and we need to get at it pretty soon, because those changes are coming whether we're prepared for them or not. So we need to get prepared.